Welcome to the Weather Guru podcast for Friday, July 17th, 2026 in the lower 48 United States. Thank you for joining me on this Friday edition, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about weather in the lower 48, specifically the hazards, and then we're going to get into the tropical outlook as well today. So, once again, we're looking at the National Weather Service current hazards for Friday, July 17th, 2026 for all of the lower 48. And mostly the concerns are going to be in the southeast, the northeast, and the upper Midwest and the Sun Belt of Texas area here. And what's really concerning is that we still have that ongoing flash flooding warning here in emergency in the hill country of Texas, the red hill country of Texas, into the Rio Grande Valley. So this is going to include places like west of I-20, if you come on I-20 or I-10, west of Kerrville, Ozona, Uvalde, Texas, back into the places that were flooding the Guadalupe River. So flash flood warnings are in effect. Emergencies are in effect for some of those central Texas counties there. And all the rivers are swollen. Ongoing flooding is happening right there. Our thoughts and prayers are with those folks down there in that area. Now, we also have in the southeast the typical heat zone. Heat advisories in effect from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Charleston, back up to Dillon, back up to Fayetteville, Whiteville, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Outer Banks included in this, all the way through Corolla, back up toward Roanoke Rapids, into the central part of some of the Raleigh-Durham suburbs like Wade and Wilson and Dunn and places like that. So if you come along the I-95 corridor, the US 17, US 12, Highway 12 on the Outer Banks, heat advisories in effect for your area, as well as East Central Georgia, just to the east of Atlanta area. So maybe places like Eatonton, Conyers, back toward Macon, Milledgeville, Fitzgerald, Georgia, back over toward Athens on US 441. Coming on those highways, 316, 85, maybe up toward the upstate of South Carolina. Be advised, heat advisories in effect. And then we have heat advisories in the central part of the country, north central part, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Extreme heat warning for the Twin Cities. So if you're in the suburbs, Brooklyn Park, places like that, Bemidji, all these areas in the heat advisory, including Rice Lake, Wisconsin, Iron Mountain, back toward the Dakotas. Good morning to you. South Dakota, Pierre, all these areas coming along Interstate 80, 90 there. Be very careful. Heat advisories in effect. Now, out west, good morning to you folks. Early morning for you. You have red flag warnings in Idaho. So Boise, Idaho, the Stovepipe, Idaho, back toward Bozeman, into northern California. So places like Mount Shasta, getting to Redding, heading into southern Oregon, and into the Intermountain West of places east of the Cascades in Washington State as well. You're under red flag warnings. No burning there. Slight little fog advisory here in gray. This includes North Dakota. May extend down to the Black Hills there, but in North Dakota and western North Dakota, there's a fog advisory in gray there, as you can see. Now, the next 6 to 10 days here, as we head toward next week into July 21st through the 26th of Sunday, this is the climatic outlook. And you can see that we're going to have a cool down in the northeast here and along the Great Lakes here, specifically here. So if you're coming along Buffalo, Erie, the New York State Thruway back toward 8090, the Ohio Turnpike, so Cleveland, Ashtabula, back toward Mentor, back into Detroit, Michigan, and into the finger of Michigan as well. We're going to experience temperatures maybe 10 to 15 degrees below normal for summertime. And then we have below normal, about 5 to 10 degrees below normal for places like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, into Philadelphia, Trenton, New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, and into Massachusetts, the Berkshires of Massachusetts, not including Boston, but we have including Manchester, New Hampshire, the Green and White Mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire, respectively, and into the interior New England, so places like Pittsburgh and Allentown, Scranton, back into Binghamton, New York, and into the Adirondacks there. You're going to be experiencing just a below normal temperatures, and this is going to extend into the Midwest here, so Chicago, Indianapolis, South Bend, back up to Benton Harbor, Grand Rapids, into Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Kenosha, back southwest towards Springfield and Kankakee, Illinois. You're going to be about maybe 5 to 10 degrees below average as well. Now, above average temperatures are going to continue here, and this is going to be hampering some of the fire and flood rescue that's going to be happening in South Texas. You can see they're going to be as much as 10 to 15 degrees above average in Houston, Victoria, Texas, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, Horrigan, back up the Rio Grande Valley to Ozona and Marfa and Fort Stockton and Midland and Odessa. Dallas-Fort Worth, you're just outside of that, but you're still going to be about 5 to 10 degrees above average in this orange here along the Gulf Coast. It's going to be hot and sultry in Baton Rouge, Alexandria, Gulfport, Biloxi, Mobile, Pensacola, Tallahassee, Lake City, Jacksonville, back into the southern part here, it's going to be warm. So it's going to be warm out west too as well for Seattle, Washington, Bellingham, eastern Kennewick, and so it's going to be a rough ride on Interstate 84 there coming through Oregon and into Idaho, as it's going to be above average temperatures here. And most of you guys don't have AC out there like we have in a lot of homes and back east. So something to look out for too as well. As this heat continues to build, the ridge continues to build in the west and south, and a little bit of cool down in the northeast and the upper Great Lakes area. Now, hurricane season is upon us. It began June 1st. No tropical activity, no named storms yet in the Atlantic, Caribbean, or the Gulf of America. However, there is an area given less than 40% chance here in yellow along the Gulf Coast here, Florida here, and in the Gulf of America. And, typically these form along, during July, these form along frontal boundaries or stationary boundaries. Sometimes you get a flare-up of a system here. So we'll be looking at that here, less than 40% chance. And then we have something way out here in the Cape Verde, Safe of Cabo Verde. It's kind of early for that to happen, but we have less than 40% chance of this little area of disturbance to be developing. But that's not the case with the Pacific. Remember I told you that storm yesterday or day before yesterday, it has developed, like I told you, Tropical Storm Alida here. Alida has pressure down to 994 millibars here. It's currently strengthening 55 knot sustained winds, and the gusts are not there yet, but it's going to be a hurricane here as early as Saturday morning. It'll be a hurricane here as it gets into warmer water here out the Pacific. But as you can see, the cone of uncertainty is moving away from land here, and it will continue to move out into the open waters here, and it's forecast to die as a depression by Tuesday, 11 p.m. Tuesday. However, it will become the hurricane in the Pacific, and it will become a Category 1 or possibly a Category 2 hurricane before weakening as it goes into cooler waters. The good news is it's well away from Cabo San Lucas, well away from Mexico, and well away from the California coastline. So this will be a storm primarily for mariners' interest. Once again, Tropical Storm Alida out in the East Pac, Eastern Pacific. Winds are currently 65 miles an hour. It's moving west at 10 miles an hour, so pretty fast clip here. And you can see the extent of tropical storm force winds that does extend out at least 100 miles from the center of this system in most of all quadrants and all directions here. So we'll be looking out for that storm. Now, back to the smoke map here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have smoke here in the northeast and the upper Great Lakes here. And you can see cold purples here for the Chicagoland metro area. Back into Detroit, cold red, cold purples in Cleveland, all the way into Pittsburgh, down through the D.C., Baltimore, Frederick, and the Cumberland Plateau area, Cumberland Plateau of Maryland and West Virginia. Purple, cold purple, the highest smoke warnings here. As you can see in this zone, even in New York City, cold red, cold orange, unhealthy air quality. So if you have pets, if you have animals, you have senior citizens, if you have kids, keep them indoors or in the air conditioning for play. If you can, get yourself, if you have one, get yourself an air filter, HEPA air filter indoor, air filter thing, the ionized, that you can use indoors. You get one off Amazon, typical $50 to $60, and just put it and run it in your major areas like your living room or your kitchen or your bedroom, and that'll help people with sensitive air quality here. But we have sensitive air quality throughout the northeast and the upper Great Lakes. This is the official air smoke map here. You can see cold purple and cold orange is the highest of the highest for unhealthy air quality and for sensitive air groups. So you definitely want to take precautions there all the way up and down the east coast and the interior here, as I showed you here, from Chicago to Cleveland to Detroit, Pittsburgh, back into D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, Trenton, New York. That's the main concern here. The mountains will help filter out some of this air, but it wouldn't be a lot that's just going to sink in these valleys here. And it's just going to be, as you can see, the air gets better in some of the Ohio Valley places like cold yellow in Charleston, Cleveland, west of the mountains. But it's still going to be a extremely bad day for air quality. So this has been the Weather Guru update for July 17th, 2026. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed weekend, blessed Friday, and I'll talk to you soon on the next episode. Take care, guys.